All right, here we go. Let's get it on. This is a really bad dance. Hey, how you doing today? How you doing today? Welcome to the Technical Seller, which is a Hustle is the Hack podcast. That's right. My name is Pierre Hulsebus, and I have over 30 years of direct technology sales experience, and I am here to help. That's right. Are you selling technology? Are you a new sales engineer, a TS, a SE, systems engineer, a TSP? Well, if you've been in the game like me for years selling, or you're just new to it, or you're considering a career in selling technology, then you have come to the right place. That's right. During the next 30 minutes or so, hopefully, we're going to help you get your game on, your selling game on. I am going to help you identify, acquire, and retain the most valuable business asset that you can have today. And what is that, Pierre? You might be asking. Well, let me tell you what it is. It is a customer. Nothing happens until somebody sells something. That's right. Yeah, without customers, nothing's going to happen in the business, right? So you're just going to have a club of grumpy people. Well, that's what I used to say, but I think it's more like a chat room now because we're all on Teams and virtual offices and all of that anyway. So you just got a room full of trolls, if you will. And, so all this business starts with a customer. That's right. Your business starts with a customer. And sadly, oh so sadly, it will come to an end when you do not have any more customers. So whoever dies with the most customers is the winner. And how do I do this? Well, I'll tell you how I do this. I take the latest sales techniques and innovation and the proven methods and models that we've learned over the years. We add a pinch of my sales experience after doing this for 30 years or so, actually over 30 years. And I mix all that in the patent pending Pierre stack of stuff, and which you could freely read on my blog, which is hustleisthehack.com. And I split out all this amazing analysis over this period of time. So sit back and relax and enjoy the time that we have together. That's right. And hey, so welcome. I'm glad that we'll get to spend this time together over the next few weeks. And we've been going down a series, and I'm starting on a weekly series of one topic a week. And today, it's really an important one. Number 2 on the list. Here's my list. Let me show you my list. If you're looking online and live, here is the list. Last week, it was, it's not what you say, it's what your customers believe. When we talked about belief window, that was a really good topic. Number 1 on the list when I sat and started thinking about important stuff. That one came to the top of the list. The next one is never go into a sales call without knowing how you're going to close. Like never go. So AKA, what's the next step? What's your call to action? And, this is a common challenge that sales engineers have. And we're going to talk about the concept of a structure in your call, right? Mega successful salespeople and reps are some of the most methodical and strategically minded people in the business. They've rehearsed the sales process. They know what their sales process. They don't show up and wing it. And believe me, I've been a sales engineer for many years. And so when you're a sales engineer, you often work with a sales rep that also like an account manager that manages the account. And you're the subject matter expertise that's brought in. And so, you're on the same page, which means you have to have a game plan. Like if 2 people show up to play tennis against another 2 people, you got a game plan. Everybody participating in a sport has some sort of game plan going in. You know what your competitors are, the objective of the sale. And usually if you're in technology sales, it's not a one and done kind of a thing. You're in it for the long haul. You're building a relationship, you're building trust with the customer. You're part of that process. And so, you have a process in place typically. And so you want to know right where you are in that process. And when you start that sales call, you don't want to wing it. You want to have structure. And, they they stick with related things. And so it's like during the sales call, when we're sitting out there with a customer, we've got something in mind for that particular meeting or that particular presentation that we're going to do. If we're going to do a demo and talk about features, we've got, a plan for that. And so if the customer gets us off track, or something comes up in the middle of the conversation that kind of tries to steer us down the wrong path or down a different path, I wouldn't say a wrong path, but new needs are discovered. We put those on the table and we discuss the help, put those in priority, but then we move on and we keep going through the structure that we planned. It's really interesting that low performing salespeople, and I look at a lot of these numbers, I read lots of these surveys. In my day job, I should disclose this. I have to disclose this actually. I work for Microsoft, and I work as a sales engineer for a sales process engineer, if you will. We call readiness, and it helps prepare salespeople and train salespeople on how to be successful in selling the tech that we have there at Microsoft. And so I lead and manage a whole motion that we have for that, and you can go on LinkedIn and find out more about what that is in particular. But that's not what you're here for today. So in my role, my day job, I look at lots of stats. I look at lots of performance statistics, not only for our salespeople and sales programs that we do, but, across the industries that we have, that we compete against, and just general knowledge in the industry. And, there's a couple themes. And one of the things that you see is call structure. When you look at call structure, if you listen to people and how they sell, a lot of them do features, and then they talk about what's the timeline of this feature, and when are we going to deploy it, and how long, and what's the cost. And then we go to the next feature, and then we might talk about, well, why do you need the feature, and what's the value of feature number 2. And then we go, what are the next steps with that? To roll that part of this project out. What's the maybe next steps there? Do you have budget? Let's talk about budget. Well, the customer's like, hey, this might not work, and you start into the negotiation of budget. And then I forgot one thing I wanted to also show you, because, to help you get more budget, this other feature that we have will, do these other things and will give you more business value. Oh, well, that's great. Well, how much does this whole thing cost? And then you give them some pricing, and you talk about the pricing, and you start negotiating, and you go like, okay, well, you find out the person you're talking to isn't the authority to purchase anyways at the end of the meeting. And then you're like, okay, well, we'll follow up with you later. Thank you. And there you go. So that's like an average or low performing salesperson's kind of sales call. You bring your sales engineer in, and as a sales engineer, I'm here to show demos and features, and I'm going to give you the demo or talk about, the engineering component, or maybe my expertise is the deployment part of this, part of the process. That call ends up being very lots of missteps in the middle there. It doesn't have a beginning and an end, and there isn't a kind of takeaway that you have. And this is why we want to begin with the end in mind, or we at least want to understand that process. And that's why we want to go in before we start the meeting, knowing what we're closing for, or how we're going to close. And the close, because when we're selling technology, it is multiple things. It's multiple things, right? It's not just the tech itself. It's how it's deployed and used by the customer. It's to realize the business value of it, and we need to make sure that they're realizing the business value. So it's complex. The selling here is much more than just selling real estate or some more straightforward when it's just a few people involved in the decision process. In our world, lots of people are involved in the decision process. We would call that complex sales here. So the call structure typically for top performers is first kind of laying the groundwork or qualifying the customer as part of that call, right? We're talking about maybe initially, hey, we talked to other people, we've done our research on you, and here's the business value proposition that we have. If you use the tech that we're going to show you here later today, we believe your company will save $427,000 a week, or whatever that savings is. Usually, we're selling tech into a business, and there's a business value for that, and we want to right up front qualify or quantify that business value as soon as possible. If you've done your homework with the customer and done discovery outside of that meeting, or you've gone and pre-qualified the customer by looking at their business structure or understand their industry really well. If you're kind of selling solutions, you might know their industry. You're repeating the thing over and over again. So if I'm selling, I had a customer one time that sold casters, so that was their thing. They sold casters, which were, wheels for very fancy, whether those are chairs on our office chairs or giant air that you see in an Air Force hangar, those caster wheels on the bottom. There's a lot of engineering that goes into these things that hold, 100,000 pound door up and roll across, and they're using aircraft carriers all the way to, your office chairs. Pretty amazing. That's a business. And so that's all they do. So that's what they know. And so they understand the business value of that particular process. And so they're able to begin the sales call with, hey, we can save you, or $4 million a year in, maintenance fees on your doors because, your doors won't go off the track. Or we can ensure, 50,000 opens and closes. And so the service level of that, door is really important in your warehouse or something like that, whatever this, or cold storage facility or something like that. You're also invoking the next part of authority. You're talking to the appropriate people in the room. You're kind of making sure up front that the right people are in the room. And so you're working through this entire process that the need and what the timeline for something like this, you're giving a qualification statement that allows the customer to go, okay, maybe this isn't for us. You're basically building a business case before you get into the features and benefits and what the things are. So as a TS, as a technical salesperson, I am working as a teammate with a seller, my buddy. He or she is going to help me close this work. I'm working with them. They're leading that part of the business conversation. They're making sure all the right people are in the room. I'm focused on the tech. And so together, the two of us are working together often, or I'm a part of a team of technical specialists, depending on how big it is, in terms of the solution. Often there's sometimes multiple technical specialists. Then we're talking about features and benefits. This is kind of the concept of tell, show, tell. Which is a demo to win technique that we love to work with. But so whenever we talk about features, we often have to, not always, every single time, feature benefit. So if I'm demoing something, I got to show a benefit. What is the business benefit? Hey, we heard from you, what we just showed you with those casters. It's, you guys had mentioned that, your customers, your doors maintenance expense is very high. And so we with this type of bearing design, we know that we can reduce your maintenance expense by $3,000 a week or whatever that is. So every time you talk about a feature, you got to talk about that business value of that. And then when we're done and we're getting into the follow-up, we're talking about pricing then. Maybe that might be part of the process. That might be the outcome of that, or the meeting itself might be, we want to find out what the next steps are. So we have the structure of kind of qualification, presentation, and then follow-up. That's a very basic structure. But instead of starting with a feature and then talking about what the price of that feature is, and then putting the price out there in the middle, and then negotiating the price, and then, oh, by the way, I forgot this other feature that's really important that I like. You have this plan going in, and that is why whenever you go into a sales call without knowing how you're going to close. And so close obviously is important. I think of this video here whenever I think of closing. Let me show this. This is hilarious. Let me add this here. Let's show this one here. You may have seen this video. I don't know. This is kind of a famous one here. It's from Glenn Ross. If you haven't read or seen the movie, if you're in selling, this is a great movie to see. It'll get you really depressed often because of what Alec Baldwin is going to do here. So The idea is you're having Alec Baldwin. He's your sales director, let's say, or he's actually an outside sales consultant, and he's going to come in and really motivate the guys on the sales team, on the sales floor, and he's going to give them the closing techniques here. So it's a bit coarse at times, but it's pretty cool. There you go.
A, B, C. A, always B, B, C, closing. Always be closing. Always be closing. AIDA, attention, interest, decision, action. Attention. Do I have your attention? Interest. Are you interested? I know you are, because it's fuck or walk. You close or you hit the bricks. Decision. Have you made your decision for Christ? An action. AIDA, get out there. You got the prospects coming in. You think they came in to get out of the rain? A guy don't walk on the lot lest he wants to buy. They're sitting out there waiting to give you their money. Are you going to take it? Are you man enough to take it?
I love that. Jack Lemmon, the late Jack Lemmon. So it's just, as an old dude that's been selling for a long time, I've been in this meeting many times. Actually, this was definitely selling in the 80s, and it was definitely about motivating people with fear. And some sales organizations, unfortunately, are still that way. It's one of the reasons I picked tech sales, and I think I've done a good job in that, is because, some of those ideas are really great. Always be closing. Like, we're thinking about the close. Like, we're in this game for a reason. And that's what distinguishes kind of your average and below average performers from a below average performer, which is the sense that I'm a professional. I'm here to win. It's the concept of Vince Lombardi. You play to win. You play to win. When you're a professional athlete, you're not paid to lose. You're not paid just to show up and entertain the people. Like, you are paid really well when you win. And in sales, it's the same way. You're paid well when you win. If you don't win, you're in the wrong game, right? So you have to kind of be motivated to win. And so that's the idea in the back of your head. You're like, we're here to close. Like, that's the ultimate component of this whole thing. Technical salespeople, in many ways, can fall into a trap. We can all fall into a trap. We love our tech. We love what we sell. We talked about that last week. You have to have some passion for what you do, and tech people are like that. We love the stuff, the gadgets, and the doohickeys and the what's-a-majiggets, and especially when you're the engineer, you understand the integrity of your product and what it takes to make it. I have certain things in my product that I'm super passionate about, and I'm super proud of the engineering that went into it, and I can talk at length about the engineering effort and why it's so difficult to these features are so complicated, and the investment. At Microsoft, when we go after a feature set, we spend millions, literally millions of dollars, and we hire the smartest people in the world to work on those problems. And then when they develop, a solution, we hire the greatest, user interface, user experience and design people to put the beautiful, user interface around it that makes it the most efficient as possible. With the smartest AI engineers in the background working on these problems, solving huge complex problems, and then it shows up in a feature that's like 4 buttons, and you push the button and it does the thing. It's like it's easy to kind of get passionate about that effort, that millions of dollars of effort. And when you have experience in that stuff, you can kind of also understand the life cycle that feature has gone through. And so that's why it's really easy to get passionate about the feature. But we have to remember that the feature is just part of, there's a business value that goes with the feature. And we're not just showing up to the football game to play a great game today, or a baseball game to play a great, have fun today. Like, it's going to be enjoyable. It's fun to win, though. Winning pays. And we are here to close business. And I am working just as hard as the customer is to try to figure out if this deal is worth our time or not. Like if it's not a technical fit and the customer's not technically ready for it, I'm the first one to say we're done. Like let's just move on to something else because I've got, more opportunities than I have time. And when you're doing a good job, that it should be that way. You're the one kind of first to say no in many ways. Like, I don't know. I don't want to show up to do a demo if the customer's not ready to buy or there's not a buying plan in there. So this is why this is so important. Having that sales plan in play, being able to work through that, regardless how bad a sales call might go. This is how I look at it. Regardless of how bad a sales call might go, you should never leave a sales call without closing on something. I mean, doing something really is better than doing nothing here. Doing so gives you this momentum on which to build. So a lot of times that is just a follow-up action or an activity. When you're in technical sales, that's actually easy to do because you're going to get some technical questions from the customer. They're going to say, hey, Pierre, what is going on and why do we want to, how does this thing going to work? Here's a technical question or technical issue. And you can say, hey, I don't have that information right now in front of me. Let me follow up with you. That is a closing technique, believe it or not. I am actually giving the customer an opportunity to trust me. Like if I just spout out the answer, I may know it. But if I walk away from that meeting and we haven't closed a sale, I want to close for what's my next action to do. And so I need some things to do. I need to earn trust. And the best way for a TS to earn trust not only is to be completely 100% honest during the sales demo and any sort of questions you may have that may have, you're the voice of reason, so to speak. You're speaking the truth and you have to 100% always say the truth. And so it's the same, like you want that integrity of the answer is so important to me, getting you the right answer that I might not be prepared for that right now. So let me follow up with you on that, or let's have another meeting next week and then we can address all the technical questions and I'll bring other experts in with me. Those are the types of things that you can do to help earn trust. So closing doesn't necessarily mean, hey, I'm closing the sale in the end of the call. I'm closing for the next meeting in my sales process. So at the beginning, if we're just doing the qualification process and we're not doing any demos yet, or maybe we're doing a super high level demo, not detailed demos, those would be the things that I'm using to get to the next presentation, to get to the next discovery part of the process, or the next feature demo that we're going to do to talk about business value of, the installation kits that we include with our casters or whatever that is. So it's always essential to remember that there's no such thing as a final sales call. If a sale can't be made on the call, there's still a sale that can be made, and that's selling yourself or creating next steps. And that is creating interest and giving the customer some homework too. So there's a reciprocity. So you as a SE also have this ability that the account executive wouldn't necessarily have because you're the technical professional. And so you should have some good questions for the customer to ask too. So those might be ways to create homework for your customer. So you can kind of also earn that ability to integrate with them, at a more engineering level to kind of earn that trust with them. So minimally strive to agree on what's, keeping the customer from making the decision. That's part of your role. What are the blockers? And in technical sales, it's usually a technical issue. There's usually some sort of technical issue. And in the big business of selling software, it's usually the technical issues that all they can do is say no. It's usually never the reason they buy. It's the technical specialists at the customer are usually the ones that all they can say is no. They don't have the authority to write the check for $1 million, but they certainly have the authority to kill your project because it doesn't meet their technical needs. And so you want to strive to agree on identifying those those decisions. What is keeping them from making that decision? And it's not, you're not working on the budget part. You're working on the technical component. And this really helps clarify it in your mind and in the mind of the customer what the specific issues are. So sometimes as a TS, I'm the keeper of the list. That is like, here are all the items that we need to talk about that need to be decided or need to, to have proven. Sometimes we need to prove that. We need to help them with a trial or something like that in order to get them to buy. It opens the door and for them to come back, to be able to get back in the game and stuff like that. So when you're able to leave the call with a customer agreeing with you on something that you've done, like, guess what that is? We call that in sales, you call that a trial close. When they're agreeing to something that you're proposing and they're saying yes, that is closing. That is a trial close. You are trying to get them to say yes to something. And if that saying yes to something is another meeting, it's the next step in your discovery process. Well, that's success. That's success for you. That's success for you. It's not just a training session. This is how we are able to kind of take control in the sales process as a technical specialist. You're able to come in. You're not only just teaching them a little and tailoring that part of the demo for them, but you're taking control by having that next step and kind of help guiding them through the buying process as opposed to selling them something. They're obviously interested in buying a solution to a problem that they have, and so you're helping them through the buying process much more than selling them your selling them your gadgets, that you do. So, if you don't get that, the timing right, and a lot of this has to do with timing. The customer's maybe not right in the right buying cycle or the right buying decision. Finances aren't ready. Your proposal is awesome, but we've expanded the scope so much that it's too big. As a TS, I kind of don't really work in that area. I'm not in charge of the budget. I'm in charge of the tech and the solutioning and the business value kind of statements and the proposition of that. The account exec has hopefully got the right people in the room, and my partner that's managing the account level, they're doing that work. So for me, if we're walking away with an extension, sometimes that's bad, sometimes that's good. So it just depends on the situation, but we don't want to spend time sulking over that we didn't close a sale, in the first meeting. That's often unreasonable. Helping meet that next need is really what's important here for us. So it's a strategy. It's easy to use. It helps you keep things going. We've watched a lot of salespeople take that initial rejection as it's a permanent rejection. And this is one thing that people that are not in selling do not understand, right? And they don't get this part where when we go back after, when it seems like we've lost, and then we're still pursuing that customer when they said no, because there's many other avenues. Like we're saying, the technical part is just one aspect. Budget and finance and reputation and other things go into play in the customer's decision process. So the rejection that we have in the initial thing might not be the end of the game, So you just have to look for what are those next steps. So we want to be the type of salesperson that never leaves a sales call without closing something. Always be closing, like he just said. Always be closing. So we're closing for something, whether that's a next meeting or something on that. And I'd like to, I put a link to this article. It's by Mark Hunter, the Sales Hunter, in Sales Motivation blog. Actually, it's kind of old. It's from 8-10 years ago. Well, actually, almost 10 years ago. But it's a really great advice. I thought, be the kind of salesperson who never leaves a sales call without closing on something. So, think of the sales rep that's hungry to close deals. You probably picture kind of that stereotypical seat of the pants, adrenaline sales, junkie, and that's really wrong. Sellers, top sellers, they stay calm and collected, and it's really important when we walk into that sale. That's why it's important when we walk into the presentation in the demos phase to be prepared. prepared. We have to have a game plan on this. So that's what that assumes. Number 2 on the list there is assuming that we're going to have a sales call, knowing what we're going to close. So the knowing part here means preparation, that you actually have a plan, that you have a plan of action. So that is the big idea today. And so isn't that fun? Isn't that fun? All right, so I'm going to, what are we going to do? Okay, no, that's it. That's the whole deal right there. We're coming to the end of the time together. My name is Pierre Hulsebus, and I want to say thank you very much for spending your time with me today. The Technical Seller, a Hustle is the Hack podcast. I'm Pierre Hulsebus with 30 years of direct technology sales experience, and we're here to help. So check us out on the blog, hustleisthehack.com. And I hope you have a super duper day.